Здравствуйте, everybody. Greetings from Moscow on a very snowy day. We are once again being hosted by TAS, of course, the international arm, let's put it this way, of the National Unity Club. So I am Pepe Escobar, geopolitical analyst and author, and it's my enormous pleasure to welcome our dear friend Alexander Babakov, Vice Speaker of the Duma, and one of the, I would say, the top informed people in Moscow and in Russia. So it's always a pleasure to discuss with Alexander, especially because now we are at a defining moment on two parallel tracks. The negotiations between Russia, Ukraine, and the United States in Geneva, and the possible collapse of the negotiations, or at least the indirect discussions in Oman between the United States and Iran. So, Alexander, thank you once again for our conversation. I think it's becoming a wonderful habit. We already had two. This is our third one. Okay, from your point of view, considering what happened during the Munich Security Conference, which was almost like a surrealist spectacle, and especially what maybe was not discussed in this trilateral in Geneva between Russia, US, and Ukraine, and especially what has not been said about what was discussed. Of course, there are all sorts of rumors swirling around Moscow. But do you consider that this is a serious step in terms of the beginning of a serious negotiation, or once again is like a kabuki theater or a soap opera?
Since we're not the participants of these negotiations, it would be in a way irresponsible to comment on this situation. But for me, there are a few moments important that there are negotiations, they took place. We have to admit that the active role was given to Russia and America, with all the informational chaos and boom from Ukraine. The part that has the meaning comes from American party. Russia discusses the same thing that was discussed in Anchorage. So the statement that was stated by the level that there is a spirit of anchorage at the negotiations, the Russians said that, give us the understanding that we can conclude that there's a positive development with a dialogue with Americans. We truly understand that Ukraine today is not subjective, it's not independent. Practically all the decisions that Zelensky takes, these are decisions that given to him by British, Germans, French. He is not independent. The country is economically, ideologically, politically, and in the military atmosphere is a country that does not exist on its own. If they would not have all the investments from a side, there would not be Ukraine. But important part that Americans are looking for a decision, for a solution, that Trump voiced it, that he understands the main reason for the conflict. And the key is not the process of discussing the territorial questions or anything else. That the territory on land, right? It's important to notice that the very first reason of this conflict was unlimited move of NATO to the borders with Russia, ignoring the sovereignty of Russia and other things that are in connection to that. Of course, there is, since you don't take away the root cause, then it makes it difficult for negotiators having a process. But this process takes place at where Russian military moves forward. We move forward also in a geopolitical sphere. We understand that the world realizes, and many countries realize, the position that Russia gives. It's a reality. We know that in economical sphere, international aspects, and we see that Russia has a very stable position, which means that the negotiations, the process, we are not unsafe now. We're at any case, we have to come to certain conclusion, right? We take the position that probably this conflict has to be finished, or try to finish it with peaceful regulations, but at the conditions what Russia stated, because we are in a position where we must dictate. We're in a position where we dictate the strength of Russia, the conditions, the terms, and what is taken on the battlefield. The conflict has shown special attitude of Europe to Russia. Now that in a diplomatic way, in a political sphere, that also puts a certain serious print on today's relationship of Europe and Russia and on. And a political activist from Europe, whatever what they said during these years and whatever they've done, and realized that their goals, their targets to hit Russia, to give Russia some kind of put Russia at loss, these goals were not reached. They need to think about a solution to decisions that they have to find, in a situation where they have to build a relationship with Russia. Concerning this conflict also, we understand the whole informational flow that goes from Europe, Ukraine, and everywhere else. We shouldn't pay attention to it. Sounds like hysterics, and it really is, according to the situation where they find themselves. Again, the key position from Americans, that they have to understand the root cause of the conflict, and they have to find the solution that would count in current status of Russia on a battlefield. Concerning the Munich conference, very important topic. We have discussed it many times, and I don't want to repeat myself. I want to say there are a couple of moments that I think for myself were key for me. First of all, we have to pay attention to the position in charge of the Dutch forum that was just recently. He is the head of BlackRock. He said that capitalism in today's situation where at such point of development where the model of capitalism, it cannot satisfy the point of view of the people, what people have. That's not about wealth distribution. It brought that this elite does not have enough arguments that this model works for everybody. And if people of such level admit that practically you have to relaunch both economical model and as a next thing, as a how it's presented in a society, that means that the world elite is caring for the future, and the future of the system that they work in. So, to speak about Munich conference, we have to count in the factor that we spoke about in Davos. It's the basics of economics. Munich is like it's a political statement, platform, analysis, but all of that is built on an economical platform. And if we see that it's getting nowhere, that means it's hard to imagine that the countries that are not the leaders in economy would dictate their terms and positions in the political sphere. And that's what we watch. Practically, Europe showed its weakness. I mean, it's a soft word for weakness. There are no ideas, there are no leaders, there are no offers that we can put for other countries. Americans, in their own way, formulate their positions. You don't have to take it in. That's what many countries do, including us. But at least they're clear. They think that today is the time of power. They have interest in certain geographical points. They think that they can use power to bring solution. Of course, we will not take that. But again, I repeat, we see a clear position. But Europeans, what do they want? They cannot protect their own selves. They cannot protect their own territory. They looking for the participating into the world problems. For at what cost? Politically, they're weak. Military, they're weak. Economically, maybe they have some kind of potential, but it's more shrinking than developing. Ambitions are high. There's no constructive points. They cannot offer, not like India and China, views for future that would unite the humanity. Maybe not everybody would be interested, but a lot of people would be interested. If we hear from Russia and China saying they're understanding that there are goals, targets that we have to solve, treat them with respect, having a respect for the sovereignty, that everybody has a right for his or her own development, but there is a problem that can be solved together, not hurting others, but uniting them, right? Then a lot of countries of the world, especially Europe, I think they don't really understand what takes place. For them, this question stands like that it's not a contrast. It's like a challenge to the whole politics that a long time was connected with the colonism, the neo-colonism, and not accepting bipolarism of the world in real life. And they are taking themselves out from this world. They don't have to take in counting from this, this world are not going to become one polar. What means is they're going to take themselves out of this world on their own. So neither us, neither no other countries or states are interested in the future. We're not going to pull them into this political system. They want to participate, okay, but they will not be the ones who will dictate their terms of vision of the one polar world as what worked before, previously, what they have given to humanity. So to me, Munich Conference is just the views on the political points speaks about the crisis of these countries that continue to think themselves as the leaders of the social point of view. They don't understand the great challenges and changes that are taking place in India, China, Russia, because in reality they slept too late. It's a very good word for that. They slept over Russia, Ukraine, that mechanics in the spheres that they have that would allow them to continue to dictate the terms, how these countries would develop. And it didn't work. Today, China is self-sufficient, financially, economically, still have some problems with energy. But if you take a look at the numbers that characterize their development, I think it's Europeans and both Americans are not able to compete with them. And as continuation. I see the neighbors. Look at Vietnam, how it goes. Instant, it's over 7 to 8%. You can treat it anyway, but these are dry numbers, facts that you can tie to something, to the GDP. And what are we going to talk about? You know China very well. You have seen it. It surprised me. A lot of things surprised me there. But the example in a car industry, automobile industry, the number of not just models, but the how many trademarks are there in China? That is 190. 190. Who is ready to compete with this sphere? And it's not just the quality and quantity, it's a lot more. But if we take a look at the ideology that they have, that is invested into the economical politics, it goes in a contrast with what was said in the Munich conference. It's involvement of every country of the world into the ideas. It's not just connecting with China. It's to be ready, to be involved into the infrastructural projects, economical model, social model. We should remember that today, as a priority of China, and now we speak about Russia, that the priorities of economical development, as our president said the quality of life. That's number one problem, demography. Can demography be measured by kilometers, kilograms, number of money, so how much money? Demography is a situation that is connected with babies are not born. Why? Because families want to have a happy life and continue it because they're comfortable to live in the country. They have a place to live, they have a job to support, not just an apartment, but the territory of Russia. They understand the values that are developed in the country or kept in the country. They're comfortable in the future of their kids and their own, and these are all quality numbers. You can't measure them in some kind of dry numbers. If we look only at GDP increase or gold reserves, it's past, it's an instrument, it's not a goal. The goal is the quality of life, and when the leader of the country announces it, it means that economy and everything that is connected to it begins to work to fulfill this goal. Maybe see it in France or in Germany, or maybe we see it in America. No. Out of all the countries, I think Americans are most closer, that they realize that the basics of sovereignty is the economy. So Trump is actively plugged into work, taking out from Europe all the production and creating that this is the source. But it's not that easy to do. The competency, the resources, the time, everything. So here is their problem. So I watch what they call after. And Europe, I don't know if they continue to think that they can live without energy. Well, I guess they can. Live in the caves or something like that. Even then, they try to bring some light in. You know, it's a hard humor, but the tendency to ignore natural process are not going to bring to any good all these countries. If they like it that way, for us the main thing now to get involved. When that model is pushed down your own throat, now that's a different story. If we take a look at what is close for us and for China, for India, this is how there are no limits. You cannot limit somebody in getting acquired the knowledge, skills, qualification. This is all unlimited. and has a quality character. Why with African continent, Russia and China, they counted Russia as a servant because they were able to take over some territories, and put colonies and take the resources out. Of course, they worked on forming elite. It's not just an easy way, but it's a one-side deal was for some because majority of wealth was supposed to move from there to metropole. Soviet Union came in and Russia and what China has, different offers. The countries are ready to share their level of technological development, intellectual. We look at not just trading relationship, not as much into them. There are a lot of projects that connected in China and Russia, connecting with the energetical problems, nuclear, hydro stations, infrastructure, cooperation with the high technologies, because neither China nor Russia are afraid to share. Why Russia is so quick to and easy to give the technologies to even African countries? Because by giving, we're upraising the level of that state, and we bring our contact and the communication to another level, and we ourselves change. It's a clear thing why we need to go towards something. They need to. It will slow us down also. We need to bring other people up, other countries up. They need to look over their positions. Look at the Macron came to the African countries. They speak, no respect. They insist in a disproportion on pricing. They buy cheap. For them, it's a norm of life. But that's different countries. Their potential, the dynamics of their development is higher than European countries. So, finishing up with Munich conference, and a lot of people discuss with you also, whatever is on the field, whatever is in the background of what takes place or will take place, it's not lesser important than what was said on a microphone. It's a demonstration of how political elites are ready to accept the world that has changed. The ones who are ready, they have a future. The ones that are not ready and try not to notice this, there is no future, or very short one.